Financial support for the production of Issues in Education is provided by the Florida State University License Plate. Your FSU license plate supports scholarships for students who enrich and contribute to our communities. Special programs, gift certificates, and rebates for first-time buyers online at fsu.edu/mytag.
Coming up today on Issues in Education, campus safety. The conversation covers everything from crime prevention to preparing students to help out in emergency situations. Welcome to Issues in Education. I'm Suzanne Smith, alongside my co-host, the Florida State University President, Dr. Eric Barron. When it comes to campus safety at a university like FSU, the first thought often goes to 40,000 students on campus. But there's also thousands of faculty and staff to protect, plus all the people who visit FSU's campus every year through sporting events, concerts, or other activities on campus. It's a big job, and today we're going to talk about what goes into casting a safety net over all those people. Joining us today to talk about it all is Sean Passaro, who is the Student Executive Director for the FSU First Responder Unit. Also here today is FSU Police Chief David Perry and Dan Bulecza, who is the Emergency Medical Response Program Coordinator for the university. Thank you all for joining us today.
Happy to be here.
So let's start with just a little bit of perspective. Maybe Chief, you would go first. Tell us a little bit about the size and composition of the police force, and I personally wouldn't mind hearing about any awards that demonstrate just how good you are.
We try to do our best each day, as you know. We're comprised of 62 sworn police officers. We provide law enforcement police services for the main campus, and that's traditionally what's in everyone's mind, what's happening here in Tallahassee. But we also have a campus in Panama City, Florida, where we provide the same services to that campus and a community college directly across the street. We also have under our purview a high school. We have 1,700 students at Florida High. So it's our job to provide law enforcement services at all those locations each day.
What are some of the awards that you've won over?
So we're very modest, but we do our best. We've done very well in the Law Enforcement Challenge over the last 3 years. This year we did place first for our Motor City Challenge, and we received grant dollars that help us purchase equipment and other supplies for the university. We were recognized for accreditation efforts and the things that we do to keep our policies and procedures at a very high standard.
Sean, what is the FSU First Responder Unit?
Basically, the FSU First Responder Unit is a safety net for the campus. Anything from special events to just everyday response for the campus.
Now, is all medical? Is that what it's for?
Yeah, medical, trauma, anything kind of like that. So if someone goes and playing IMs and they hurt themselves, or someone feeling ill, that we can respond to them, and usually we can get there a little bit quicker than some of the other such as EMS that's maybe around the whole county.
Because you're there.
Because yes, we're right there, right? We don't have to go across town where you have to go, 3 blocks over, something like that.
And so, Dan, what does it mean to be a response coordinator? Do you only work with students?
No, I work with faculty, staff, all the other departments. Students are a big portion of what I do. I oversee the entire operation of the First Responder Unit, including their executive board. We review their policies and procedures, make sure their medical care is up to the high standards that we have set forth, make sure they follow our protocols and procedures. We do have quality assurance built into it, and that's pretty much what I handle throughout, including all their training.
Okay, now that we've gotten sort of an overview of the three areas, let's start now with crime prevention and what happens. When people think campus safety, they always think of issues of crime. What kind of security measures does FSU have to prevent crime?
Well, the first thing is law enforcement presence. When you see a law enforcement officer, you know that someone's around and someone is watching and has the ability to respond. Aside from our presence, we have multiple crime prevention programs and services, everything from adopt-a-cops who partner with residence halls to crime prevention safety seminars to even self-defense sessions for women. And we've trained thousands of women how to defend themselves from just dangerous situations that they may encounter.
One of the other things that we have is a rather complex alert system.
Right.
How many different ways do you have of communicating with students and faculty?
Where's Dave Bujak when you need him? We have the most platforms in the country. We've been recognized as having used all of our resources to the best of our benefit in notifying our students, because we know they're not all at one place at one time. They're in different situations. So we've leveraged that technology and text messaging, email, speakers, sirens, smart classroom technology to interfere with even a presentation being given by an instructor. We can break into a message and let them know.
And how does the public respond to this messaging? Or the users respond to it?
The users, for the most part, are very appreciative. This age of technology, people want the information. They just want to know so they can make an informed decision. There are occasions where someone will say, hey, I don't want to know this, or it's not important to me because I wasn't personally impacted. But for those who are in the immediate area or were personally impacted, it's invaluable. It reassures them that we're out there trying to protect them and give them the information they need.
And if you have that knowledge, does it actually change behavior?
Absolutely, it changes behavior. One of the best examples is that we had a visiting student on our campus who had a briefcase in his vehicle that had the letters A-B-O-M-B, a bomb, on it. And he was not a part of our campus community, but because we sent that message out, the person that he was visiting said, hey, there's a suspicious package in the garage. And he says, wow, that's my car, that's my package. And he responded to it. So it spreads, and students understand the value of having good information.
And it turned out to be nothing.
It was nothing, but we could not take that for granted, so we made sure it was safe.
That makes sense. Now, are a lot of people signed up for the text and email alerts?
Right. We lead, really, our colleagues in terms of registration process, and that's because of the standpoint from the administration to say it's so important that before you register for a course, we are asking you to give us your cell phone number and your information before you even move forward. Students can opt out of giving that, absolutely, but we have other methods of notification. But it's so important that we capture that before we even get into course assignment, and that helps our registration rate. I know right now we're at 87 or 88% when the average is in the low 20s of percentage nationally for registration.
Wow, that's a huge difference. Now, you've finished orientation for students, and what's the reaction from parents and students? Did they show a lot of concern? Are they very happy to hear about how things go? Are they asking you a lot of questions about safety?
When I walk in the room, there are a lot of nervous parents, and you can tell the energy's there. When I leave, they have a sense of relief. It's almost a sigh to know that we are working proactively every day to keep their student as safe as possible on our campus. There are a lot of educated questions about safety, but for the most part, they are happy to know what our expectations are and the things that we do to keep them safe.
Do parents also sign up for the email and text alerts? Parents like to know what their kids are going on around
Parents
them.
like to know, and because of one of our platforms called Mobile Blackboard, they can download the FSU app on their smartphone, BlackBerry, or other device and keep up with news, events, and those same emergency notices that we send out to our campus community. So that's their connection. They really feel good about that when they know that they can stay in touch with the campus community.
You mentioned safety classes as well. Tell us about the RAD classes. You had mentioned that regarding the
RAD, absolutely. We've trained, as I said, thousands of women how to defend themselves. We put on the big red RAD suit and we let women just pound on us, beat on us, and it's one of the only places I know you can beat up on the police and not get in any trouble. But
I've done that class. It's fun. We
really empower women how to defend themselves, use their voice, use the tools that they have with them every day to fend off an attack. And they're very appreciative of it.
And so it sounds like a lot of the things you do aren't just when someone's in trouble.
No.
You have a lot of other interactions.
Yeah, prevention is a big piece of what we want to do. We even partner with the residence halls and do training and things to just make sure our students are aware of what's going on around them.
How much interaction do you hire students? You talk about the interaction with the students, but is it do you hire them also to work with the department or
Absolutely.
work with schools?
Students are
classes?
really interwoven into our department in terms of work study, and we have a cadet program. And I'd say this during orientation: if your student is interested in law enforcement, we have a program that will allow them to work special events, put them in scenarios to help law enforcement. Nothing dangerous, but it gives them hands-on experience about the career path that they might want to choose. And we've hired students to go on to work security and then eventually be police officers right in our department to this day.
And Dan and Sean, you know, another type of event, unfortunately, is a serious health emergency. So what is the training? What is our capability to respond?
Our training, most of our students go through 2 semesters of actual full board training, from the classroom to the skills lab to field internship, so that they can develop and be able to handle all medical emergencies that would come across. We are the first line of defense of getting there and stabilizing the person, so that by the time EMS gets there, they can just put them in the back of the ambulance and transport them to the hospital if needed.
Now, you talked about the training. Is that something they can do like in a weekend, or is this is an extensive training?
No,
that
this is a complete year of training, 2 complete semesters. The first one is the classroom. They'll do classroom and they'll do some skill development. The second semester, we actually put them in a field internship. They're actually working with our response crews, going on the calls, building up their confidence level, making sure that their level of training is up for it, so they actually get good practical experience before we even allow them to start responding as a crew member.
What kind of certifications do they have before they start with you, and what they get with you?
To start with us, they need to have BLS for the healthcare provider, which
What's
is
that?
actually an advanced CPR class, which includes all the aspects of cardiac pulmonary resuscitation, as well as Heimlich maneuvers for removing choking items, use of an AED. Then they enter our program.
So Dan is real modest. He's been on the scene of persons with heart attacks, construction workers who have fallen more than 10 stories from our construction sites, people who are choking, and his staff are right there in the middle of all of those emergencies and responding just as an emergency medical professional would.
And are you, is there a station on campus? Are you everywhere? Are the students going to events, or are you just spread out all over the campus?
I mean, it's simply yes.
All of the above.
I guess, we do all the events, so we're at the events during the day for our daytime response. Usually we'll be stationed at Thagard, but I mean, we'll go from one side of campus, and before we get back to Thagard, we get another call from the other side of campus, and we're just hopping all around, so we're just kind of everywhere and anywhere.
What made you want to do this? Is this something you want to do when you get out of college?
When I first was, when I heard about it, I just kind of was like, that seems interesting. Let me go look into it a little bit. And then as I started looking into it, I was like, okay, this kind of seems like, you know, it's interesting. It's not the everyday thing. You know, it's not just like, oh, everyone does this kind of stuff. And then at first, I was just kind of doing it for college. But now I actually think I might start working over at the TMH in the hospital over there, doing similar stuff like this.
What is your major that you're currently in right now?
Sociology.
So you're not thinking about pre-med or nursing or anything like that? This is just something where you feel good about the training and your ability to serve your fellow students and faculty. Yeah,
I mean that's what everyone always thinks, that like all of our people are, you know, pre-med majors, they're all going to be doctors, all that kind of stuff. And yes, we do have a lot of them that are pre-med, but I mean we have criminology majors, sociology majors, history majors, religion majors. It just kind of, you don't have to be going to this field to do it. It's just if you want to help people, if you want to do something, you know, different, if you want to actually, you know, get that experience out there, then, you know, that's what we're there for. And can you say what's the most challenging call you've ever been on? Due to like HIPAA and all that, we can't really discuss most of the calls, right. But I mean every call is different. Some of the most difficult times is just convincing the people that they do need to go seek further care, because a lot of these guys, you know, they get hurt and they're like, oh, I'm not hurt, you know, they get a broken leg, like, oh no, it's fine, don't worry about it. It's like, no, you need to sit down, talk to us, you know, and kind of actually get, you know, build up that rapport with them and have them be able to trust you, and like have them be able to trust that, you know, even though you're a student, you still are trained and know what you're talking about when you tell these people that, you know, they need to go see further care, or they need to go get, you know, an x-ray or something like that. And is this both mental and physical issues? Yes. Mm-hmm.
We cover everything that possibly could be for the well-being of, in fact, students, staff, faculty, visitors. We do quite a bit across the board. It doesn't matter if it's medically related. My crews are actually qualified to at least do the initial assessments and start doing whatever treatment.
How many calls do you get sent out on in a course of a year, I guess, or you do it by semester, or however you break it down?
We actually break it down by semester. On the average, we're running about 500 medical calls per semester across the board, and it's a wide variety, from a simple that I don't feel very well, paper cuts, all the way, as Chief mentioned, to a cardiac arrest. So.
You've got 500 calls. How many students are actually part of the program?
Right now, we've got 48 students that are actively crew members, and I've got 45 in training.
And what is your relationship? I mean, I'm assuming you develop a good relationship with external health providers. You have a lot of interaction with our police department. Is this a tight relationship that's going on here?
It is fairly tight, where we constantly try to improve. I had worked with the hospital for quite a few years. I have a very good rapport with the staff over there. Leon County EMS, they actually train with us. We are allowed to go over there certain times, and we train with them so that their medics, when they arrive, know exactly what the training that I have. I bring some of their medics in during the course of our training so they can assist with some of the skills, and they actually will assist with all our students in developing them.
Chief Perry, how much interaction do you have with the first responder units?
Wow, Dan has a dotted line to the FSU Police Department. It's staggered and the police, so we are always trying to find equipment, supplies, materials, things that they need in order to better do their job. So they are really a relative of the police department, and we trust in them daily. He has a radio that has our frequency, and we just depend on direct communication with them every day.
So, and the call could go into Thaggart, it could go into the police, a call could go directly.
Right. And, once we leave this program today, Dan's going to turn his radio on, and if there's a medical call, he's going to respond and let us know that he's in close proximity, or one of his staff will be responding. So that's how important the service is every day.
Well, how would you, Dan and Sean, how would you like to grow the first responder unit in the future? Or
Sean,
where do you see it in the future?
I guess just kind of more of like an awareness for the students that, like I said, you don't need to be medically, in a medical field or in a medical major to want to do these kind of things. If all it takes is you just to be interested and want to do something, good. A lot of our students, when you get some of these difficult calls, seeing someone weeks later and them saying, thank you to you, just, means the world to you. And, I don't know.
Should students get involved at the beginning of a semester or the beginning of the school year? Is that the best time? Or?
A freshman or a senior?
Yeah.
Not necessarily the senior, because it does require the 2 semesters of just training before they can actually get into the field, so they wouldn't really get too much out of it. I would say, probably freshmen and sophomores are definitely more preferred, but I mean, even juniors, get in there and just, learn more about the university and learn what you can do to help them.
Now, Chief, I'm not sure a president should ever ask a question like this in public, which is the equivalent of what do you need to do an even better job, or how do you see the police force evolving over the next decade? How would you like to see it evolve?
I'd like to see us stay on the leading edge of what we do in terms of training and technology, and we are looked upon as a leader in our region, and just growing our staff to meet our ever-growing needs. We are expanding into the community, taking on new locations, and so we have to expand as a department and grow as the university grows.
Thank you very much for joining us. We've been talking with FSU Police Chief David Perry, Sean Passaro, and Dan Bulecza about campus safety. When we come back, Dr. Barron and I will talk one-on-one about more issues in education. Welcome back to Issues in Education. I'm Suzanne Smith, talking with Dr. Eric Barron, the president of the Florida State University. Dr. Barron, we've been talking about campus safety in this half hour. What do you think is FSU's strength in this area?
Well, you know, I think we have an exceptional police force that cares deeply about students and cares deeply about student safety, and they're really an award-winning group. And so I think that's a great strength. I think we've also developed such a broad range of ways to communicate to students about safety that's also another strength. Unfortunately, we're probably a little slim on the numbers. But that's part of the stress of a budget in the public university environment these days.
How important is it that student-run groups like the First Responder Unit are involved with helping protect the safety of people on campus?
Well, I think it's great. You know, I would say the more people that are knowledgeable and well trained, the better off we all are.
Is campus safety one of those things that you get asked a lot about by parents at orientation or just parents in general?
I do. You hear about it at orientation, but you also hear about it frequently from parents whose children are here. And I'll just give you an example. Something happens. We communicate it. We work to over-communicate it, and this is part of the educational process and part of you know, awareness. But as a result of communicating, students are saying, oh, this happened here. I walked there. And they express it to mom and dad say, you know, what's going on? Are you working hard to be, are you working hard enough to keep my child safe? And so this is a very important issue to parents. And the interesting thing about it is, I think the more we actually communicate to promote safety, the more it's in people's minds, and the more they worry that we're not as safe as we should be.
Well, what do you tell parents when they express concerns like that?
We basically, you know, Chief Perry, I pass it to Chief Perry just because he can provide all the examples of what we do and how we do it to make people feel more comfortable, as well as having the statistics that show that there isn't a safety difference between this campus and some other campus that's of equal size.
Are you signed up for the email and text alerts?
I am.
And do you find a lot of parents are getting signed up for those as well?
I don't know how many parents actually are, but it's very clear there's an awareness knowing that you can get that information.
This show is debuting in July, close to the start of the new fiscal year. What kind of budget issues will FSU be dealing with in the next few months?
Okay, so the key here is that, one, we want to fill the deficit that's been created by so many cuts to our budget, really for 6 years in a row. It's just nonstop. Every year is the next cut. And so filling that gap so that we're operating not on a deficit budget is awfully important. A second element here is that as tuition changes, we want to continue to focus on financial aid so that in every circumstance we can look at people in the eye and say, regardless of your personal financial circumstances, this university is accessible. And after that, we have to focus on retaining our faculty. We got a lot of universities that are below us in the ranking trying to rob us of our faculty because they can pay more than we can pay. And so we've got to do something about that. We also have a lot of demand. We've lost about 50 faculty a year for the last 4 years in a row, net loss. And so, and at the same time, we're teaching more students than we ever have before. And each year it's going up some. So fewer faculty, more students. And so this is causing some stress for students who may not get a course that they want, and that'll mean that they take longer to graduate, and that will cost them more than even a tuition increase if they take longer to graduate. So we've got to be very conscious of where the student demand is so that we're filling it, which means that we have to be selective about faculty hires. Those are the priorities that the university has for the budget.
The 4th of July often turns to talk about veterans. Last year, you unveiled the FSU Veterans Center. How is that development of that program going?
You know, it's going really well, in my opinion. We've hired a director in Colonel Billy Francis. We have a staff person. We have a temporary location. We have begun to do fundraising events. We had a group of about 80 alumni on a boat going down the Hudson River outside of West Point to discuss what we were trying to do for our veterans group. I've met with key people in the Pentagon, including the Vice Chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, about our efforts and how unique they are, and including the Secretary of the VA. We have a couple of opportunities for funding additional staff. We have a facility that's designed. We just finished a Veterans Expo in June, at the end of May, in which everything from admissions to orientation to advising was discussing how it is that we can interact better with our veterans. This is just being ratcheted up, and I think everybody is looking at it and saying, you know, this is the way we should be doing it, which is good.
Is there anything specific you're looking forward to within the program in the next year or so? Okay,
so you know, I tell people that the objective is to be the most veteran-friendly university in the country, and people sort of look at you every time you say you're going to be the most or the best. What is this? Is this a sales pitch? But it's really quite simple. We want to retain veterans, we want them to graduate, and we want them to get good jobs. If you do those three things, you're the most veteran-friendly university in this country. So that's what the focus is, building that sense of community and those services where the students are retained, the young men and women are retained, they graduate, they go get a good job.
You've recently hired a new Vice President for Research. Tell us about him.
So Gary Ostrander, he comes from the University of Hawaii, and prior to that, Johns Hopkins University. He had the equivalent position at Hawaii. Hawaii has increased substantially its external research dollars during Gary's tenure. So this is a person that's coming in with a great deal of experience, a lot of connectivity to the funding agencies in Washington. All these things are good for us. We have, you know, in Kirby Kemper, just an exceptional VP for research who's done great things for this university, and an experienced hand is going to come in right behind him, and I hope will continue this strong upward trend in research activity in the state. He has a crossover between medicine and biology, looking at things like cancer and corals. So again, I think this is, you know, we have a real scholar that's coming on board as well.
It's hard to believe, but the start of fall classes are right around the corner. Real quick, is there anything you're looking forward to most in this coming year?
You know, I always look forward to seeing the campus overrun with students. There's just so much energy. You know, I sometimes think I'm aging fast in this job, but every time I see all of those young people come in the front door, you just feel younger.
Thank you very much, Dr. Barron. That's our time for now. Please join us again next month for more Issues in Education. You can watch the premiere episode of Issues in Education the first Wednesday of every month at 7:30 p.m. That means you can see the next new episode on Wednesday, August 1st on WFSU-TV. Join us as we discuss the latest developments in higher education happening around the state and across the country. If you have questions you would like us to address on this program, you can email us at issues@wfsu.org. Again, that's issues@wfsu.org. If you would like to see past episodes of Issues in Education, head to the President's website at president.fsu.edu. I'm Suzanne Smith with the Florida State University President, Dr. Eric Barron, for Issues in Education. We'll see you next time.
Financial support for the production of Issues in Education is provided by the Florida State University License Plate. Your FSU license plate supports scholarships for students who enrich and contribute to our communities. Special programs, gift certificates, and rebates for first-time buyers online at fsu.edu/mytag.